Let's find out. We've got our extremely official scoreboard tracker here. Check, 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 check. All right, that sounds good. All right, guys, so quick reminder. We've got our 3 clubs, the Super Speed training program. Hey, Andrew's in here. Hey, Andrew. And we swing each of them 5 times. All right, so we go green, blue, red, and then we swing max green and our driver as well for a baseline, and then at the end again. Hey, Sycamore's in here. What's up, Sycamore? Hey. Andrew says, how you been doing? I've been doing well. It's a beautiful day to be grateful to have time outside. Get to work on my game. All right, guys, so that's the plan. Again, green, blue, red, max green, and then the driver. We're going to start with the driver. However, although I am going to use these to loosen up. Added bonus of these swing speed sticks is that they also work really nicely as a warm-up. Super important to get the body kind of primed and ready to move fast before we start just swinging. It's a good reminder, guys. You can do this stuff, you know, if you're playing around you don't have time to warm up or time to hit balls, right? You can still do a 5-minute dynamic warm up with some squats and some stretching and get the blood flowing and be in a much better place than if you just, saunter up to the first tee and make your first swing of the day there. Just goes to show you guys, like anything else, if you spend time working on it, you can get better at it. I mean, to almost be able to get my palms flat on the ground, 6 months ago, I think if I tried to touch my toes, I could reach to about here. So, made a lot of progress. Still more to do, but yeah, that's pretty crazy. Again, it's not like I just, I didn't do like a marathon 4-hour stretching session. I just did it for 10 minutes a day for months and months and months. Maxton says, what's up? Sorry it's a bit late, couldn't make it to the lives, but I got 4th in state. 4th in the state is amazing, Max. Good for you, my man. Congratulations. You should be really proud of all the hard work that you've put in to get to that point. And keep it up. Wow, that's so exciting. Good playing, my dude. Maxton said thanks. Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah, so quick 5-minute warm-up here. And we'll turn the radar on. Guys, we've got our PRGR portable launch monitor. And I got 3rd in a tournament today. Well, that's awesome. Congratulations, my man. Sounds like your game's in a really good spot. All right, we're going to get that turned on. It's always a good idea to stretch, warm up, wear a glove if you're gonna do speed training. Oh, I forgot, we're supposed to get a baseline. All right, let me at least get a few swings in before we get the baseline. As if I was warming up. All right. N said, typical white guy, not gonna lie. Well, could be. I almost dunked a hole-in-one. Wow. Have you ever made a hole-in-one, Max? I've never made one. Shannon said hi. Hey, Shannon. All right. Got the heart rate up a little bit. Driver, when I played that match yesterday, guys, was really, really solid. All right, let's see what our baseline for today is. 106. 107. 107. 108. 107. All right, so 108 max again with our baseline. Got some little ants trying to say hi. Gonna have to move these guys out of the way here. All right, we get right into the green stick here. I think that was the backswing. Nope, definitely the backswing. 120. 120 again. Got the backswing. 120. 121. All right, so 121 is the max. The righty swing. Garrett says, shot 468 Wednesday, 171 yesterday. Just seen a hole-in-one on a 200-yard par 3 in my home club as soon as I got out of my car tonight. Wow. Always exciting to see somebody make a hole-in-one. Dude was playing alone and I was his only witness, so glad I was there to validate. Oh, that's cool. Boosted Media says, you are coming over the top, not a coach. Just a good guy. Well, I appreciate the opinion. Yeah, we're just doing speed training right now, so not so concerned with the shape or plane, any of that good stuff. All right, now we gotta go over here, do the same thing, make left-handed swings. This really confused somebody in the comments on one of the videos recently, guys, when they were like, you were holding the club like a righty like this, and then I saw you holding it like a lefty. Like, what's going on? And I was like, that's a fair. Nope, didn't get it. $97. 106. 108. Got the backswing. 108 again. 105. Not bad. 108 miles an hour with lefty swing. Good to see you too, Garrett. Thanks for checking in. Sounds like you're playing really well, my dude. Keep it up. ASMR breaths. As I come from baseball, tend to rush my backswing. Doesn't always hurt as I get amazing distance. Sometimes slip through the zone. Causes my club face to open. Any tips? Yeah, so I think, you know, having that athletic background is great to generate speed and hand-eye coordination and all that stuff, but the main thing I would tell you is it sounds like you got to really, you know, reduce the speed and get to where you can square the club face, right? And then you start adding speed. You say, oh, that's what I have to do to hit it straight, you know, and you might have to swing at 70% to do that, right? But if your face is getting too open, then there's a lot of ways you can learn how to shut the face, but generally, that's what you got to do. The golf ball will tell you what's happening. 115. 115 again. 116. Backswing. Backswing again. 117. That's a great number. With our blue club. Now we go back to the other side. This is how all the pros do it, guys, with a stack of bricks. You just got to get the right stack of bricks. You'll be in good shape. Obviously, you know, you just got to do what you got to do to make it work. Dakota says, I can't hit my woods off the grass to save my life. Well, kind of like the same thing I just told ASMR Brad, Dakota. You got to, you know, what if you make a half swing? Like if you take it to your waist with a 3-wood off the deck, could you get it airborne? At least a little bit? Right, I bet you could. Then you make it a little longer. Try to find that center of the club face, control the low point, right? So you're making good contact. And just hit some little chippy ones, right? Get that confidence up. You know, make sure that you're staying nice and centered as you turn and try to hit the center of the face, right? Then build that speed back up. But again, they're separate things. There's speed generation and there's technique. There's, you know, those are separate ideas that you got to separate. That was a very redundant sentence, but you get what I'm saying. All right, lefty swings with the blue club. 103. 104. 102. 98. 103. All right, so 104. Consistent drop off, about 4 miles an hour. All right, now, guys, time for the beast, the red one. ASMR Breast said, really appreciate it. I hear the slowing down part a lot. You nailed it on the nose. I'll dumb it down to less strength. Thanks for your time and thought, man. Earn my sub. Oh, awesome. Thank you very much, guys. If you're enjoying the stream like ASMR Bra, you want to hit that subscribe button? It really helps me out. All right, guys, time for the heavy guy. 105. 101. 108. 100. 102. 108. That's really fast with the red one. we get on the lefty side. Let's make sure this is gonna pick up where we're swinging it. 97. 99. 98. 99. Let's get 100. 98. All right, so 99. Lefty club. Hey, it clicks. Hood skaters, I'm gonna get back to your question in 1 second. CM Golf said hi. Hey, CM Golf. Put this back. Now that we've done our protocol, we go back to the green one, max that out, go absolutely 100%, try to swing it as fast as we can. 123. 123. 115. That doesn't seem right. It's the backswing again. Backswing again. 123. All right, so that's what we got today. 123 is a new fastest I've seen on that max green swing, guys. Hood Scares, any tips for driver setup and swing versus iron? Yeah, let's finish this really quick. So with the iron, well, I've been working on this myself quite a bit, trying to really differentiate between those two swings. And the way I've been trying to do it is by really shortening the iron swing and trying to feel like more weight on my front side. So the driver setup is a little more right hip lower, right left shoulder higher, kind of really trying to set everything up to launch that ball high up into the air, right? Whereas with the iron, it's more weight here, left hip low, shoulders more neutral, more on top of it, right? Trying to cover it into the ground. So maybe that helps. That's how I've been thinking about it. All right. It just feels so terrible. 104. 104. 107. 108. 104. And now, same idea. Just going to knock some stuff over and then get back in here with the regular driver. 111. There we go. 113. Backswing. 109. Backswing again. All right, one more. 111. All right, so we got back up to 113. So that's kind of what it looks like. From start to finish. Get a good sweat going, get the heart rate up. 108 up to 113, again with the regular, with my driver. 150 for 400 yards. I'm not sure I know what you mean. Hood skaters, does that make sense to you? The answer to that question about iron versus driver swing? You know what I also wanted to do, besides just I wanted to see what the speed was like when I actually had to hit a ball. Again, not super perfect because we're hitting it into a net. We don't fully care about where it ends up, besides, you know, as long as it's not in my neighbor's yard. Now we're just gonna have to find a way to get the ball to stay on the tee. It's teed up quite high. I wouldn't tee it up quite that high, but stay. We're gonna have to watch that one back. That's what happens when the ball falls off the tee in the backswing and you try to you still try to hit it. Oh, that's so funny. Right as I take it back, it starts rolling off the tee. That's awesome. Oh man. All right, guys, let's see if we can see what kind of speed we might be able to get here. Caught myself that time. Oh, this is not a good solution, is it? I think it's because this is all sliding around a little bit. Just tempting you that time. Dare you to fall off. It happened again. I have no idea how I'm gonna get this ball to stay. I also don't know how I'm hitting much of anything when the ball's literally falling off the tee. That seems better. A little better. Stay. Oh, I might have to get one of those rubber ones. I feel like I have one somewhere. Because I just am not confident that the ball is going to stay on the tee. This is what I got to deal with. Still, I think it's going to keep happening because when I shift my weight backwards, there's just not enough. I mean, that's the whole point of having foam under here so that it's cushioning when you hit an iron, but oh, maybe this is entertaining to watch. Who knows? Just a guy struggling to tee up a ball. The pros, too, said hi. Hey, pro. Hey, JB3. Right now we're, as you can see, struggling to keep the ball on the tee in order to hit it with this setup. I feel like I've been scarred. Yeah, it's still falling off the tee. All right. We tried. we will figure out a different solution for that another day. And that will be enough speed training for right now. What am I going to hit? I'm going to hit more short irons. I'm going to grab a 9-iron, work on hitting a bunch of these. You know why that is, guys? Because the last 9-iron that I hit on a golf course, I fully hoselled. That was pretty fun. Alright, so I can get these tees out of the way. Like I always like to start out with just some real chippy ones. Like I was telling ASMR Bro and some others, right? It's always a great idea when you're working on technique to just slow everything down, make the swing shorter, more manageable, right? So I'm trying to really make sure that I'm dialed in, hitting the center of that club face. Boom. Save the battery in our radar here. I like the speed training. Speed training's fun. JB3 said hi. HD Tyler the Goat said hi. Hey Tyler. What's up, guys? If you guys haven't already, hit that subscribe button for me. And if you're so inclined, we have a giveaway going on right now. Teaming up with my friend Steve Pope at Firefighter Golf. If you're interested in winning some clubs, some cool gear, check out that video on the channel, guys. All you got to do, subscribe to my channel, subscribe to Steve's channel, drop a double check mark in the comments. I gotta get more shag balls. I've got a whole bucket of them upstairs, and I just never seem to remember to bring them out. I really like that idea of kind of almost just like sitting into that left hip. Boom. So you guys have heard me say it before, but if you're doing all kinds of big long swings at the range and getting frustrated, then this is probably your answer, right? It's just make it smaller and slower. FG Bolt said just getting warmed up and then said hi. Hey guys. No, this is technique practice. I'm working on hitting the center of the face. First 20 to 30 minutes of the stream we did speed training with our Super Speed Golf overspeed system. These are awesome. They're different weighted clubs, and you swing them both right and left-handed, or dominant side, non-dominant side. And they also sell a portable launch monitor that I have set up here, and I use that to track the club head speed. I also use my driver as a baseline. So the nice part about speed training is you definitely feel warm. You feel ready to hit balls after. You've gotten the engine warm. find... It's funny, my younger self would be like, what is wrong with you? You know, I'm trying to find old Pro V1s in here that I'm not going to use so that I can hit them into a net. You know, 15-year-old me was like hunting through the woods to try and find a decent Pro V1 to use in a tournament. And now we have them in abundance. Life is good. Trying to spread out my wear on the mat here. And I'll just hit a whole bunch like this, guys. Just really working on strike. Boom. Trying to keep that grip pressure nice and light. And then once you really feel like you can hit it solidly 10 out of 10 times, 9 out of 10 times, then you start adding some speed to it, right? But if you really want to learn impact, that's a great way to do it. Troll said, what up, Tattoo Man? What's up, Troll? Troll's a great name for a YouTube channel. And it doesn't have to be, you know, fully slow or fully fast, right? You can go to 70%. Boom. Still make sure that you're hitting the center of the face, striking it nicely. So yeah, guys, I shanked a 9-iron off a tee yesterday. Made double on that hole. And it was my only blemish on the 9 holes. Made 3 birdies, shot 1 under, even with the double. Hey, hello from Korea, I think. Baghead said, I started playing in April, just broke 100 for the first time this weekend. I'm committed to getting better. Any tips on aiming? Yeah, I do have tips for that. So you'll see a lot of drills, you know, when people are trying to teach alignment and they put like alignment sticks down or clubs, right, to try and teach you, you know, this idea of like, you know, the railroad tracks, right, that your feet roughly are square, you know, to some point that's generally kind of left of your target, but, you know, how you align yourself, right? And I have found in my own experience, the more that I get really comfortable using the alignment rods, and then when I don't have them on the golf course, I'm like, oh, am I aligned up right? And it's like more, you know, the indecision is worse than if I had just trusted myself. And so what I've gone back to doing is, you know, this idea of, can I center my shot pattern around my target, right? And obviously, you know, if your target is aligned, some of the balls are going to end up to the left and some are going to end up to the right. You know, we're aiming this cone. We're not aiming a rifle, we're aiming a shotgun, right? So with that in mind, I think it's really important to work on alignment as part of your execution practice. And when I say that, like what you guys just saw me do for the last 5 minutes is more like technique, right? I'm not going to hit shots like that on the golf course, right? But there are times when I'm at the grass driving range and I'm working on my game saying, okay, you know, I'm going to go through my whole process. I'm going to hit at that blue flag. It's 155 yards into the wind. I'm going to hit an 8-iron. And, you know, the wind's slightly off the left, so I'm going to aim it, you know, a couple yards to the left of that flag. And if I hit a good shot, you know, it should end up somewhere, you know, around that flag. And then you go through your whole process, right? Which for me is just, you know, standing behind the ball. I make one kind of light swing, trying to feel the shot I'm about to hit. I step into it, you know, a couple looks at the target, and I hit the shot. So that's execution practice, right? I think that some part of that should be spent on alignment, and you'll find out in that process, right? And you know, you have to pay attention. You might even need a notebook. You might have to like physically, you know, go shot by shot and take notes, right? And say, okay, I'm aiming at that blue flag, and I'm gonna hit 10 balls, and you know, if roughly 5 are left of the flag and 5 are right, then you're probably aimed pretty effectively at your target, right? But if you hit, you know, 9 of them and they all end up to the left of that flag, well, you know that you need to adjust your aim to the right in order to center your shot pattern at your target. So that's my approach. That's a little different than, you know, put the alignment stick down and you know, you can do all that stuff, right? You can say, okay, this is my target line, and if you know that every time you set up and that your feet being square is going to produce a shot that ends up down that target line, right? Which is not always the case. You see guys who set up closed and they still are able to hit the ball that way, or open and they still hit the ball, you know, very straight, right? So the idea is about centering your shot pattern, not can I get my feet square to this imaginary line, right? However, if you wanted to do that, the drill you would do is you would put this stick down and you'd say, okay, that's my target line. I'm going to get in here, I'm going to set up to it, like as if I was going to hit the shot down that line. And then you drop the club down and see, are these lines roughly parallel, right? You can see mine's maybe a couple degrees open. That's normal for me. That's about what I'd expect to see. But pretty close there, right? Not, you know, this is more about degrees. I mean, if you're seeing one that's like massively like this, right? You're like, well, I'm probably really close to my target line. I'm going to have a tough time, right? Conversely, if you're super open and playing like a huge slice or something, right? And you see a line like that, right? Then maybe you want to adjust and try to end up, you know, somewhere closer to that parallel look. But again, just as somebody who has gone down this road, the objective is to learn how to aim on the golf course, right? Not can I set up squarely to this imaginary target line in order to hit my shot. So just don't lose sight of that. Hey, Hollywood's in here. Also, we should back up for a second, Baghead. If you just started playing in April and you already broke 100, that's awesome. I mean, that's incredible progress for a very, very new golfer. So congrats to you. Keep up the hard work. Oh, that was hit out of the toe. That's the one where I really need to do a better job paying attention. There we go. This is great for confidence too, right? You know, if I hit a whole bunch of shots in a row out of the center of the face, I'm training my body. Okay, this is what that feels like. This is what we're going to expect to feel and execute when we're playing. And hopefully keep the ball away from the hosel. And there was a good question earlier about, you know, differentiating between the iron swing and the driver swing. And that's something I've been spending a lot of time out here working on. It's like, especially my setup, right? When I'm hitting an iron, it's more left weight's over here. You know, I'm thinking about covering it with my chest, right? I'm staying down, kind of through. I'm trying to move that low point in front to hit the ball first and then the turf. Whereas with the driver, I'm set up almost more behind it, right? You know, still balanced, but the hips are going to be tilted higher, left shoulders up, right? Because with the driver, I'm trying to really launch that thing up into the air with not a lot of spin. So just something that I'm working on, trying to develop these feels so that when I'm out there playing, I don't end up trying to, you know, swing my driver like an iron and having a bad time. That is exactly what I want my irons to feel like. Just absolutely smushed out of the center of the face. Let's take a look at this swing. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. That was a little bit toey. Not bad. Other than the one really bad miss hit, I hit my irons pretty nicely. Hit a whole bunch of greens. Hit some good wedges from that, 100 to 110 yard range. Had a number of those actually yesterday. Gosh, isn't it funny when you play early in the morning? That was just yesterday, but it feels like it was so long ago. James says, been working lots on my driver, and it's gone from being worst club in the bag to the most confident. Problem now is my irons and chipping suffer. I've lost my feel for finesse. Thoughts? Keep up the good work, John. Always grateful of your advice. Well, thanks very much for your nice comment, James. That was awesome. All right, so like I was just mentioning a second ago, if you were in here, if not, it's okay. I was talking about, trying to differentiate between, the iron swing and the driver swing, right? The driver swing is about, staying behind it, launching the ball way up into the air, right? Not a lot of spin. The irons are more about precision, right? Trying to feel like I'm more stacked on this front side and centered. And that swing is shorter, right? I'm trying to feel like almost a 3/4 to 3/4 move with all my irons. I don't really want to be swinging it any longer than that. So that could be something you could think about. But also, James, don't forget that, that's kind of normal. As you work on different parts of your game, if you've done a lot of driver work, it can make it that much more difficult to remind your body, like, hey, this is a wedge shot. We don't need to maximize the speed here. We don't need to, really get that club head going super fast. Right? And just, you can try to simulate this on the range when you practice. You can, hit a drive, right? Get all pumped up, hit a long drive as if you were, trying to hit it as far as you possibly could. And then say, okay, I got to hit a 40-yard wedge shot next. And just simulate, like, okay, what am I noticing? What am I feeling? How can I go back and forth between those two shots? Because that's really what golf is, right? It's a random series of shots and clubs that we need to hit. There's no, you're never going to hit like 5-6 irons in a row on the golf course. So that random practice, that kind of almost simulating a round of golf, is a really good thing to do on the driving range. It also can help you identify, like, where am I really struggling? Is it, maybe when I'm hitting driver, I'm more kind of getting my weight back here, and then when I go to hit a wedge, well, if you keep your weight back here, you're going to hit it really fat or thin, have a really bad time, right? So saying like, okay, I got to pay extra attention to where my weight shift, where I'm feeling my weight, shot to shot. So try to be cognizant of that thing, don't just go, oh, well, I'll rake a ball because I hit a bad one. Like, just do, hit the driver, then hit a 7-iron, then hit a 3-wood, then hit a sand wedge, right? Kind of do some random practice. Was hearing as I was typing, I feel I focus on keeping my arms clear of my torso on my driver so I'm not stuck. That bending over more on irons, I'm hacking at, dispersion's massive. Yeah, so this might be a good, again, like I was just mentioning, a good moment to remember that like these are different swings. Their goals and objectives are different, right? My iron swing, like I was just saying, is, you know, shorter, more connected, right? This arm stays really in here. Whereas if I'm trying to swing a driver and I'm trying to swing it fast, right? I'm going to set up to it differently. I'm going to set up more back here, right? And that swing's going to have a lot more, you know, lateral, off the ball, and then this way, right? Because we're trying to generate speed, right? But I would never set up to an iron like this, because then I'm just going to, you know, stick it in the ground or really thin it. Like, it's going to be kind of tough, right? So try to keep that in mind. Again, just, you know, give it a shot at the range when you have time to practice. Also, if anyone has advice for how to use a shot scope watch, I got one, and I got it all set up. I brought it to the course yesterday, and it only recorded 7 shots. I think I only hit 33 shots, but still, more than 7. I don't know if it wasn't like if I didn't keep up with the putts from hole to hole and it didn't track. Maybe I'll have to watch a tutorial, but if anyone has ever used a shot scope watch with the GPS tracking successfully, drop me a comment. Charlie Hamrick NFL, I'm 14, only have a pitching wedge and no 56 or 60. I hit my pitching wedge about 100 to 110. What should I practice for shorter shots between 40 to 90 yards? Well, the good news is that a pitching wedge is, you know, still has plenty of loft where you could hit those shots, and, you know, maybe not to the same, you know, amount of height and spin as if you had a 60 degree, right? But what I would start doing in your practice is grab that pitching wedge. And you know that a full swing goes, call it 100 yards, right? What you want to start to work on is, okay, what's the swing that goes 50 yards? And then what's the swing that goes 75 yards? And you try to, you know, cover the increments in between, right? And then you'll get to a point where you're saying, okay, I can really, you know, the one that goes 50 and the one that goes 75, I can definitely tell, you know, it's a different swing. It's going to, you know, go close to those yardages. Then you might say, okay, now I need a 60-yard shot that's, you know, in between. Just like you might want, say, then I need an 85-yard swing, right? And you start to build in these checkpoints, if it is the only club you have, right? But generally speaking, what's going to help you be successful for those shorter ones, right, is shortening the backswing and opening the club face, right, adding loft, because that's going to make the ball go higher and shorter. And obviously shortening the backswing will make the ball go not as far, right? So if my setup for a full pitching wedge, which for me goes like 138 yards, 140 maybe, right, is something like this, right, where I've got, you know, some shaft lean, right? Well, if I want to hit this club 50 yards, right, well, I might kind of get it a little bit forward in my stance. I'm going to open the face. My swing's going to be a little more kind of out and across it because I'm trying to hit it higher with more spin and height. Right, so setup differences is going to help a lot. You know, you notice like a lot less shaft lean. I'm not leaning it in like this. So those are the things that you can work on to, you know, create those more versatile shots. James says, that connection I focused so much on when my irons were good that it hindered my drive stuck on the inside. Maybe I have to try that again, as you say, totally different swings. Cheers, brother. Appreciate you. I appreciate you too, James. Thanks for all your support. Baby Shot said hi. Welcome back to the stream. How did the speed training go today? Oh, sorry, I missed your question from before, Hollywood. Speed training went well. We got a new PR on the green max, 123. That was pretty exciting. Same 5-mile-an-hour jump, same 108 to 113 as the last couple days. Hollywood says, I have shot scope, but I use my phone. I still have problems with them recording the shots from time to time. My feeling is that it's internet problems on the course, not 100% though. All right. Well, I'm definitely going to keep trying it because I want to get it to work. I want the data. I have used Arcos in the past, but the subscription, you know, model just really was unattractive to me. These sensors also are much less obtrusive. These are probably, 40% the size of an Arco sensor. And I use my phone for recording when I'm, filming on the course, right? So I need something that, like the watch, can obviously do that without using the phone. Really like that swing. Nice and compact. Striping it right out of the center of the face. All right, so Hollywood, you can add shots in the app after the round as well. So that's what's interesting. I couldn't even really get that to work. Like, it barely even registered that I had played a round. But maybe I need to spend some more time with it. Even that, I felt way in front of it, and it's just such a better strike because it's not, the hand path isn't so long. Right, when I was trying to swing it like a driver and I was getting way back here with a 9-iron or, a short iron, it's like so unnecessary. I have been thinking of going a little bit flatter with my irons. I just feel like sometimes I'm fighting it from just getting kind of upright through impact, but we'll see. Ball striking's been pretty good, so I probably don't need to go changing too many things around. Man, it's getting dark quick. What time is it? 8:15 nearly? Let's see how we hit this last one. It is maybe even a little tiny bit inside. On the way back, but it's fine. I think maturing is realizing that the goal is to play golf, not golf swing, and I've spent so much time, wasted so much time, I should say, trying to really improve how my swing looks on video, as opposed to, like, am I hitting the ball better, or am I, like, hitting better golf shots? So I'm trying to really focus on, like, am I hitting the center of the face? Am I hitting the ball where I want to? Is it flying a consistent distance? Well, it looks way lighter on the camera. Thank you guys so much for all the support recently on the channel. We just smashed through 2,600 subscribers, guys. Pretty cool. If you're interested in, seeing what we've been up to. A lot of cool golf stuff, a lot of cool, mental health stuff we're talking about. That was fractionally out of the toe, it felt like, maybe. That was better. Definitely better. Yeah, just crazy the amount of support, guys. I'm extremely grateful, that you guys keep showing up for me, so I'm going to keep showing up for you guys. How we hit that like button costs nothing. Shout out to Squirrel Sniper. Thanks very much for being a moderator and gassing up the channel. Everybody, give Squirrel Sniper a shout out. Jay says, an online coach is telling me to chip 10 to 20 yard chip to hinge more. Butt end of the club faces ball in backswing and an end of follow through. This is hard to time and sometimes I kill it. So he's saying when you're hitting a 10-yard chip shot that you need more hinge in your shot? In your swing? That would really be surprising to me. Like a 10-yard chip is like, swings maybe like that. I mean, how, if you were really, I mean, the amount of hinge you would have to get to point the butt at the ball and then throw it at the bottom. Yeah, I don't know if, I don't know who the coach is, but I think it's fair that you could go to them and say, hey, this technique seems really hard for me. You know, it's not making me more consistent. I want to understand what the objective is here, right? Or, you know, like, you could ask, who's a pro whose chipping move you would have me watch, right? And try to get some more, you know, color on like what they're getting at, because it could have just been a miscommunication, you know, something, a drill that wasn't explained well. But I'm not a, you know, professional coach. The channel is monetized though, guys. If you want to say thanks, you can definitely do that. But just all your support more than enough. But if I was going to hit a 10-yard chip, I would not hinge the club very much at all. I kind of just swing it back with my shoulders like a putter. And I just let the club do the work that way. You know, my technique is definitely not perfect in any aspect of the game, but I'm having a hard time seeing how, like, more hinge... I mean, if you're chipping out of heavy rough, and you're trying to, you know, you have to get a bunch of speed into the ball, almost like you're hitting a bunker shot, right? Then you might need to, like, open the face and kind of give it some hinge to chop underneath it at the bottom. But if you're hitting a standard 10-yard chip off of the fairway, I mean, I don't think you need much wrist hinge at all. So that's my take. I was just thinking that, Squirrel. Yeah, they are right. It does, you know, even hitting the subscribe button, guys, the cost is still very low at $0. Disco Dave says, I just learned a cool tip for my irons, grip-wise. Imagine ringing out like a towel, and I've been hitting tight little draws. Hope we can help someone else. I have a baseball background. He says, my wrist doesn't hinge or set. I'm too stiff and turn my body too much. Well, if you're not using, like, any... If you're not using any, you know, wrist at all, and you're just kind of like, you know, if you were really just like swinging your arms like this, right? Then I could see somebody saying like, okay, you need to, you know, get a little more athletic, bend down, you know, a little bit more, and give it a little bit of hinge, right? But I don't think you need to actively hinge the handle, especially on a short chip, right? It's almost like the momentum of the club does it a little bit for us, right? I find, you know, some set in transition, right? But I'm definitely not like actively trying to add wrist angle. Again, I think at a standard 10-yard shot, you can just kind of hit like a putt. You know, it's just a bigger putting motion. Right? Almost like a Jason Day. Go watch Jason Day chip. And you'll get a pretty good sense of like how little wrist hinge is necessary to be an excellent chipper. Right? But I also think, you know, tell your coach, say, hey, I shared this feedback with you. You know, I want some help here. Like, try to help me understand what we're going for, because I'm not sure I'm with you. You know, just because he's a coach and he said it doesn't mean that it's what's best for you. Doesn't mean that it will translate to, you know, a better feel or something for you. ASMR Bra, #1 chatter, says, thanks, Dave. I'll try to think of that as I come through with my irons. I love that. And again, this is what's so interesting. There's a great podcast, guys, called The Sweet Spot. Those are shout them out. John Sherman and Adam Young, who are both, respected instructors in the golf world, have a podcast. And I listened recently to an episode they did, and they were chatting with a guy up in Canada who had done some research on grip strength and what happens to the amount of pressure throughout the swing. And the key takeaways that I got from the interview was, and this again jives with my own experience, I went from standard to jumbo size grips this year, and I'm hitting the ball straighter than I ever have. He said that mid-size should be standard, and that most amateurs don't apply enough grip pressure. So obviously not, universally true, but pros, grip the club tighter than most of us, right? And they didn't, there was some discussion around like your perception of grip strength, right? Like, do I feel like I'm, gripping it really tightly? That's what Dave's describing, right? And having good success. So that definitely could work, right? Whereas if you're somebody who like already, lifts weights and has a strong grip, you might need to feel like, you're really gripping it lightly to get to that optimal number, right? And it's just kind of trial and error, and you got to play around with like, okay, I'm going to hit, you could do an experiment yourself. You could go to the range and you could say, I'm going to hit 10 balls at a 10 out of 10 perceived grip strength, right? Like grip it as tight as I could. Then I'm going to hit 10 where I'm at a 5, right? Like I'm feeling like it's kind of right in the middle. I'm not, squeezing it actively, but it's kind of just right at a 5. And then maybe you could hit some at like a 1 or a 0, right? Like if you gripped it any looser, the club might fly out of your hand. And, just take a notebook and just go, 1 through 10 for each of them, and give yourself a check mark if you hit it well, you're happy with the swing, and an X if you didn't, and then just compare. Jay says, that's what I'm saying, so confused. I do, though, come way too inside. I've had the hosel rocket to the right for years. The club face do most, if not all, the work. Yeah, definitely. Hello, our friends from Korea are here. If you can't drop I don't know if how your name would translate to English, but I always feel badly that I can't call people by their name when it only displays your characters. I actually tear through golf gloves, same with batting gloves back in baseball days. Hard having big hands with old irons. They swing clean. There's just that small amount of VAR that fucks it. Yeah, small grips suck. El Blazer, what up, brother? Hello, El Blazer. Thanks for being here. It is nearly all the way dark here, guys, so probably hit like this last group here. Fractionally out of the toe maybe on that one, but if you have to wonder that much, probably wasn't bad. So anyway, guys, all of that to say, there are ways where you can try these things out, run these experiments, right? Don't just go to the range and say, okay, I got this new tip from YouTube, I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna be amazing at golf. Like, you gotta, make these really incremental, small changes. Tatum says, how long have you been golfing? Your swing looks good. Thanks very much, Tatum. I've been playing golf, seriously for probably 15 years, since I was in high school. I started playing a little bit before that, as a real junior, but I didn't really take the game seriously until I was maybe 15 or 16. So, yes, I fell in love with golf and have spent thousands and thousands of hours hitting these little white balls around. Simon said, hello, John Young. Hello, Simon. Thanks for hanging out on the stream. If you guys do want to help me out, hit that subscribe button for me. Still costs $0, free 99. That was a tiny bit thin, maybe a groove low. Oh, all right, guys. I am also Simon. Hello. Tatum says, have you ever hit the fence? I feel like I would hit it because the net is far away. No, fortunately, I have not hit any into the fence yet, although that day certainly could come. That was hit thin. That was hit nicely. Yeah, super cool how many people decide to subscribe after seeing the live streams, guys. I mean, a good little peek behind the curtain, like a good short, you might get like 7, 8, 9 new subscribers. But for me, I mean, I've had live streams where we, more than 100 new people subscribe to the channel. Left the face open on that one, I could feel, but it wasn't hit poorly. Simon, how do you fix your iron shots? So what I do is I go super slow. Here, I'll demonstrate in a second after I look at this swing. I do a bunch of half swings. Yeah, I'm happy with how that looks for sure. So how to fix your iron shots, right? Well, number one, you got to figure out what's the issue. Is it ground contact? Like, are you hitting it heavy or thin? Are you hitting it too far on the heel or on the toe? Right? We want to hit the center of the face, and we want to hit the ball first and then the ground. Right? So that's kind of really what differentiates your skill with irons. Not even so much speed, because speed is relatively consistent, but so to practice that, right? I always tell people you got to work backwards from impact. What do I mean by that? Well, the golf ball cares about impact, not what your swing looks like or how long it is, any of that stuff. So to do that, I think you've got to practice at a slow speed, just over and over and over again, hitting the ball in the center of the face, right? So you could grab like a 9-iron, try to hit it truly like 40 yards in the air. Not 150, not 130, like 30 yards, 40 yards, and you're just trying to practice over and over again, delivering that club face onto the back of the ball, hitting the center of the face. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We have superstars. Hello. Hello. Were you being good for Mom? Yeah? Yeah. We got one ball left, and then we're going to come inside. Oh, yeah, it gets dark quick now. Almost August. Thanks, Hollywood. Simon wants to know what I had for dinner. I had hot dogs for dinner. Really, high-level cuisine over here. Did you build your own practice pad from Super Smacked? I did. I did build this. Had some help from my stepdad. Great dude. Helped me put this together. It's just some 2x4s, and then we've got some gym foam tiles underneath, some padding, so that when I'm hitting a bunch of iron shots into here, it's not, transferring a whole, trying to minimize the force that gets transferred back into your body. That's why, if you talk to people who hit off of mats that sit on top of concrete all the time, you can really start to get some pain in like your elbows and wrists. Mary says, are you scratch? Currently I'm playing off like a 2 handicap, but most of the time when I'm not working on my game and trying to get better, it's so funny. you know, I start the year and I'm like, I'm going to practice all this, you know, I have all this free time and work on my swing, and I've changed my swing a bunch. And, you know, my scores have only gone up, right? I went from like a +1 to a 3 handicap, like overnight, it felt like. My goal is still to end the year at somewhere around +2. So I'm going to have to play a lot of golf between now and then to just get enough rounds in to make that happen. But, you know, if you don't set aspirational goals, then you definitely won't meet them. So my lowest handicap ever that I've seen on Gin, I think, is +1.4. So, whoa, throwing clubs now. You know, I've definitely spent enough time, you know, at a 0 or better handicap to feel like if someone said, "Are you a scratch golfer?" I'd say like most of the time. But the honest, you know, if you play golf long enough, you'll know that, you know, it's not these things are not consistent, right? You know, you play well for stretches, you play not so well for stretches. Felt the face getting a little shut, but it was hit well. All right, guys, one more swing before we are forced to suspend play due to darkness. You never know when a beautiful woman might just start laughing in the top of your backswing. And force you to really mishit it. Nice part about having a net too, you know, it can be the last ball for as long as you want. If you're at a driving range, you run out of balls, they're gonna ask you for more money. Somebody's dog is really barking out there. I'd love for that strike to be just like a tiny bit more solid. There we go. Gotta hit them all just like that. All right, that's a good one to end on. Dropping things everywhere. Cody, I've got Tacoma irons, TaylorMade woods. Have a good night, John. Thanks very much, Baby Shot. I want a net. Well, I'm working on getting you guys a discount code for the net return. We're going to get back to you soon on that, but one more chance to hit that subscribe button for me. Drop a like on the stream. I don't even know how many likes we're at. Stay tuned for the video from yesterday's match. We've got a lot of good shots of it. I'm finally starting to get a good feel for, you know, the right angles and how to capture both the golf shot and the, you know, the golf course, you know, what were the surrounding vistas, if you will. It's not going to rain tonight, is it? All right, guys, that's going to do it for tonight. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.